Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do projects and what else do we do? Training and consulting. And welcome to episode 20 of Think Out Loud. It's going to be our first episode where we work on something for the Disney Vacation Club, though this is a completely fake project, so it's not really for DVC. Hello, Elena. Let's see, I'm trying to get everything set up here, and I'm also going to need to open up my YouTube in case we get the usual porn spam. I apologize in advance. Hello, Anna, friend of the show. So first of all, let's also thank all of the people, the low ego action heroes at all levels who are donating to the channel, which of course is totally optional, but always appreciated. These people are giving $3 to $10 American per month, and they keep me in streaming software and chocolate chips. And so for that, I'm always grateful. I had way too many chocolate chips today, so thank you. And of course, thanks to the people already pressing like on YouTube. That's very sweet of you. Let's see. I expect to have a big crowd today because people have been very excited about this episode. So hello, Carlos, Mohammed, Abdul Bazid is back. Cat Meow, I don't know that person. Pier Mario, my boyfriend. So let's talk a little bit about what the Think Out Loud project will be this time, and a little bit about what's coming in future weeks. I'll take off my hat. You get the idea. So basically, Think Out Loud is where we take a fake or sample project, usually that you send in. So if you'd like to send one in for the future, check out deltacx.com/links. That will tell you all kinds of things you want to know about the live show. And of course, please do subscribe over here on YouTube. People have been so excited about the show. We got 100 new subscriptions over the weekend. So thanks to everybody for joining in. We're so close to passing 5,000, which I'm really proud of since it was completely organic. Hello, Manuel. Thanks for promoting the show. So we're going to be taking a look today, starting a new project for Disney Vacation Club known as DVC. And today we're going to work on first the background of the project, which we usually do as our first episode for any of these fake projects. And we're going to take a look at what kinds of generative research would I do if I were working at Disney or being hired to do a generative research project around this. And then probably next Monday, because we do this every Monday, we'll take a look at how we can redesign for things. Now, there's a couple of things I want you to specially listen for in these episodes. Number one is knowledge design. Now, we talk about that all the time on this channel. If that concept is new to you, I'll give you the short version of it, but we do have an entire video on it. So if you'd like to check it out, again, everything on YouTube is free. We have no sponsors, we have no affiliate links, and I donate all of the ad money to charity. So this channel is here to help you, not to line my pockets. Last year I made $700. So this is not my source of income. So go to YouTube and type Delta CX Knowledge Design. You can check out that micro lesson with Larry Marine. The idea of knowledge design is that we as the company, let's pretend we work for Disney in this case, or maybe we're an agency that they've contacted. Disney knows lots of stuff about their system and their ways of working that the average user might not. And the question is, how can we design that knowledge into systems so that people are not left? Let's talk about my famous 4 horsemen of bad UX. Registered trademark. Frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. We don't want anybody to feel frustrated, confused, disappointed, or distracted. So we're going to be talking today about some of these knowledge design ideas when we look at Disney's current site. And we're also, I promised a special surprise twist for today. And here's what that's going to be. The special surprise twist is I am the user, but we know you're not the user. So what am I going to do? And this is something that I'm going to talk about this and in the next DVC episodes. How, even though I am the user in this case, how do I make sure that I use a mindset and perspective and techniques to avoid making this about me or what I want or how I do things? So the best way to go there, hello, Olani. Sorry, I'm very bad at names, but good to see you. The Four Horsemen of Bad UX, which you can Google since it is on my website. My four horsemen, again, registered trademark, are frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. Ooh, and we've got somebody subscribing. Thank you. What was I saying? Okay, so we're going to make sure that even though I am a real customer in this case, and I came up with this idea because of my frustration on the site, we're going to make sure that as we plan the research and as we do some design in the coming weeks, that I am not building what I want, that I'm building what I imagine multiple target audiences to need. Now, I have to imagine it because even though we're going to plan research, we're not really going to do the research. It would take me weeks to do the research. I would have to pay people incentives. So we don't really do the research here. We plan it. And that's to help all of you who are working in UX research or hope to work in UX research see how I plan research, because I think a lot of mistakes happen at the planning. So let's jump in. So before we plan, first let's take a look at what is happening on the Disney site itself. Oh, thank you, Dipta. And also, let's see, I will put on my headphones in case y'all set up some sounds and I need to know that something happened. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to a browser, and first we're just going to talk about foundational information about what is DVC and how does it work, so that as we get into planning the research, you can chime in live in the chat and talk about what are some of the things you think we would want to research and learn about if we were tasked with trying to make specifically the booking a vacation flow better on the site. But you're going to need some domain information, and to me, again, that's something I can do where I am the user, but I shouldn't be the user. I can use my knowledge as just subject matter expertise, domain knowledge. It doesn't have to color the work that I do, but it can inform it because I have expertise in this area. All right, let's flip on over to, oh, wrong button. I've done it. Okay, hold on. Too many buttons, everybody. I'm pressing one woman show, as I always yell out. Okay, here we go. So there we go. So you should be seeing me, the optional tip jar, the chat room, and my browser. So I've logged into the DVC website, and this is my dashboard. Now, let's explain a little bit about what happens in the DVC system so that everyone has some foundational knowledge and we can continue working together in the next weeks. DVC is Disney's timeshare system. For those of you not familiar with a timeshare is basically like a club that people can join, which you have to pay for, and basically you are technically buying a fraction of of what's usually called an interest in a hotel or property, and with that partial ownership, that tiny fraction of the ownership, that gives you the right to come and use that property or stay at that hotel a certain number of days per year. Hello, Jusli. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And so Disney's system is different than many timeshare systems. Many timeshare systems sell you one or some hotels, and you always take the same week. For example, many families will take Easter week because the kids are off from school, or Christmas week because the kids are off from school. So Disney's system is different. Disney's system works on points, which means you can stay at, I think there's something like 11 hotels, and each one has a different point value, and you have a certain number of points, and then you use those points to stay at these hotels. I know you all have your thinking caps on and your critical thinking caps on, and you're probably starting to notice some of the complexity here. Okay, I have a certain number of points that I have to use within a certain amount of time, and then each hotel has some sort of chart of point values, and I have to figure that out. There's even more complication in here as well. And so for example, let's go to this page. Now this page is the DVC's page on point charts, where you can see how many points you would need to stay in one of the hotels in a certain time of year, because Disney breaks it up into times of year. Hello, Nadu. The more popular the time of year is, the more points you'll spend. The less popular the time of year is, the less points you'll spend. Now, here's our first foray into knowledge design. Take a look at this picture. Now, let's imagine that I don't know what that is. Of course, I do know what that is because I am a super fan. But let's imagine you look at this and you go, oh, wow, that's a really pretty looking hotel. And oh my gosh, it almost looks like it's right inside Disney's park. I can see the castle. This is the Disney castle back here in Florida. Wow, this is some sort of ride. Maybe you don't know what ride that is. I know that's Space Mountain. And maybe you recognize Disney's very famous monorail over here. Now, here's an interesting thing. This picture has no caption. So you might go, this looks great. I want to stay there. You don't even know what hotel that is. This is a great example of knowledge design. We've assumed that people know what this is or don't care what this is, when in reality, this could have been an opportunity to connect more with those people and make sure they knew what that was, either with a caption or maybe even a big headline here. You know, stay at Bay Lake Tower and walk to the Magic Kingdom, or, you know, be a stone's throw from Cinderella's castle at Bay Lake Tower Resort. That's Bay Lake Tower. Hi, Shashik. Hello, Shashik. So that's an example of knowledge design. We threw this picture up here. People might not know what it is, but what if it mattered? So it does matter. So now we're taking a look at points. These are all the hotels and all their points. Now, we're only going to focus on the hotels that are near Walt Disney World, Florida, because there are other hotels that you can stay at as well. We're not going to focus on those today. We're going to imagine that our target customer is trying to book a stay at Walt Disney World, Florida. Elena says, I'm surprised there's not an accessible caption with the location. Yeah, we could try to inspect the element and see if it does have an alt tag, see if what a screen reader might have known about that. Yeah, so actually a screen reader would have known what that is, because it looks like this says Bay Lake Tower at Disney's Contemporary Resort at dusk. So a great point, Elena. So a screen reader would have known what that was. Everybody else will not. So cheers to Disney for having the alt tag and making sure the screen reader had something that was informative and descriptive. But for the rest of you, you didn't know where that was. Same might be true for these. Now, I know that I think this is their Hawaii resort. We're not going to imagine we're going to Hawaii. And I believe this looks to me like Saratoga Springs. Well, points for accessibility, right? But again, if you look at this and you go, oh, wow, this looks so beautiful. Where is this? I don't know. And not everybody knows how to do inspect element or save image, where we can see if they named the image something helpful. So again, we have to remember that even though I have subject matter expertise, we have to imagine that there's a target audience that's not savvy at all. We have to imagine that there's a person or a family who went to Disney World, Florida, and loved it so much that they bought into the timeshare system, and they're still kind of newbies in this world. And I worry that this site is treating them like they already know stuff, which is why knowledge design is going to be so important to this project, because Disney is a world of inside lingo and at least Disney timeshare system. Inside lingo, point charts, numbers, it's tough stuff. There's a learning curve here. So let me give you an example. My home resort, I didn't even tell you about home resorts yet. My home resort, this is the point chart. Look how complicated this is. And the interesting thing is that Disney used to have 4 travel periods per year. Then they expanded it to 5. Now there's 7 travel periods per year? And inexplicably, it starts with September 1st. Like, hey, where's the beginning of the year? But what they decided to do was put them in ascending points order to basically make sure you knew this is the cheapest time on the planet to go to Disney. Now that's true because most American children are in school. So pretty much any time American children are in school is going to be your cheapest time to go to Disney. Your second cheapest time is going to be right after the new year when kids are in school and no one has any money after holidays. And right before the holidays when people are generally not traveling. If you imagine our target audience of Americans, generally not doing much travel between Thanksgiving and Christmas and Hanukkah and other holidays. So this is an example of point charts, but again, this is knowledge that the system knows, and we're going to have to make sure we expose to the user so that they're not confused and wondering, how many points do I need? How many points do I have? What do I do now? So again, tuck this away. If you're making notes while you're watching this, remember that we've got all of these components that we're going to have to put together later to make a better booking experience. Let's talk for a moment about home resort. Here's another knowledge design moment. Why is there a giant picture on my dashboard of Disney's Old Key West Resort? Is it because it's my favorite place to stay? Is it because it's where I stayed last time I was there? Is it for some other reason? Well, hey, it's because it is... Mudasar says no video. Did anybody see my video drop out? I still see me. LinkedIn sometimes messes stuff up, which is why I tell everybody to please move over to YouTube and please subscribe on YouTube, Delta CX channel. It's because Disney's Old Key West is my home resort. Now, what does that mean? That means when I bought my vacation points, and I get 50 points a year. Don't ask about the 95. I'm not going to go into that. I bought 50 points a year, and my home resort is Old Key West. What does that mean? That means that I can book Old Key West up to 11 months in advance. I can book the other hotels up to 7 months in advance. So you see, if you buy the home resort somewhere, the idea is you get first picks. You get to pick before everybody else gets to pick, because I can book it 11 months out, and everybody else who doesn't have Old Key West as their home resort would have to book it 7 months in advance. So I get the advantage of that. Is that an advantage? I like Old Key West. It's not bad. It's central. I like that. Super friendly. Sure. I like it. Not sponsored. It's a little old, but I don't care, because you're in your Disney room with your eyes closed for the most part. So I'm happy with it. Nilam says, nope, the video's good. Pierre Mario says working. Okay, thanks everybody. So that's another thing for you to remember, is that your home resort matters, because it's July 11th, 2022. If I want to book for next February, I might only be able to book Old Key West. The system might tell me, I'm sorry, that's too far out for the other hotels. That's another thing that people might not understand. This is knowledge design. People might look at a system and go, why can't I book this? Or why is it telling me I can only waitlist it? And so remember, we have to imagine, we have to use that beginner's mindset. We have to imagine the newbie. We can't just say, well, Debbie's super savvy. She gets all of this. What is going on here? We have to remember there's always new people buying into the DVC system. DVC is constantly building new hotels, so there's always new places to buy into. So we have to think about that. Now let's talk about what does it look like if we actually want to try to get a hotel. Like, what are we going to be working on redesigning? This is the booking flow. So let's imagine that there's two of us. I'll take Pierre Mario with me because I like him a lot. Now we've got a new adventure in complexity. Look at this. Not easy to see link, because their link color is quite close to their text color, so that probably should be underlined and have more contrast. View theme park availability. This was something Disney started doing during COVID when they wanted to keep numbers down. They didn't want zillions of people in the parks. They wanted it to be less attended so that there weren't less likelihood, of course, of people getting COVID. Now you have to make a reservation if you want to go to a park. What's a park? Okay, so Disney, here's another knowledge thing. Disney World in Florida has 4 parks. You just saw the picture of the castle. Now that's there's a park there. That's what Disney calls their amusement park, or whatever you want to call it. And that one with the castle is called the Magic Kingdom. Some of you may be familiar with the giant golf ball looking thing. That's another park at Disney, and it's called Epcot. There's also Animal Kingdom. And then there's also what used to be called MGM Studios and is now called Hollywood Studios. These are 4 separate parks. These are parks that you have to buy tickets to. These are parks you have to get into. These are parks you can spend part of the day, all of the day. This is parks. Now you have new complexity. I opened that window over here. Take a look. You cannot get into parks on certain days. You're going to have to make some sort of reservation to make sure that you can get into your parks. Now, if you are planning to go more last minute, like, whoa, let's go to Disney next week, these yellows are showing us, and luckily they picked colorblind friendly colors. These yellows are showing us, I wonder if the gray and green look different. They're showing us that there's some availability, and down here we can see with some pretty clear icons what's available and what you're not going to get into. So you could get into these, but not these, and green is all of the parks. So that's a whole other universe of complexity. If we think we want to go, let's say we pick one of my favorite times to go, which is the second week of January. Here we go. Why? Nobody has any money left. Children are in school, and they've taken down the Christmas decorations. Usually on January 8th, they take down the Christmas decorations. I like to show up on the 9th. The entire country of Brazil will be there, but that's a separate issue. So I can see that at least as of now, I would be able to pick whatever parks I wanted to go to on whatever days, but it looks like I'm going to have to plan ahead. I can't just kind of show up to Disney like the pre-COVID days and say, hi, I'm coming into your park today. I have to have a reservation. Now, that won't play into our booking flow. Other than we want to make sure that we're not booking time to go stay at Disney and we can't get into the parks. So it kind of plays into the booking flow. Why is it on a separate screen and not right there to warn us? Knowledge design. If I didn't see that link, or I didn't know Disney had these COVID restrictions, I could make the mistake of accidentally booking a time when I can't get into any parks or the parks I want. So remember that when we get as far as making a revised booking flow, we're going to want to make sure we use knowledge design and we build things in to keep people from making mistakes and keep them from making mistakes, because remember, our newbies don't even know what they don't even know. That's the bottom line. I just realized I'm wearing my headphones, but I don't have them on, so that's going to be silly. There we go. Now they're probably loud, and I'm going to get scared if someone subscribes or donates money or something. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's pretend that I want to go for that week in January. I want to arrive on the 9th. And I want to leave on the 15th. Let's pretend. Showrooms with full availability. Okay. I might end up getting some search results that say only part of your vacation is available. What would I do about that? I don't know, but we can try it out anyway. Manuel says, I was also thinking, why was this on another page? Exactly. So these are problems that we can solve. Again, do you have to solve them for me, superfan and subject matter expert? No, but that's why I am not the user. I am thinking about everybody else. I'm making sure to think about the people who are low knowledge, low savviness, new to the system. All of you. I bet nobody watching right now has bought into the Disney timeshare system. Okay, maybe some of you have, but maybe some of you will. But it's confusing. Okay, so here we go. Room type. Now again, notice there's no pictures of the rooms. There's no links to learn more about the rooms. They kind of basically assume you know what these rooms are. Now, in a sense, these descriptions aren't terrible. It's pretty clear a studio is a studio. A one bedroom is a one bedroom. Got it. But what if you're wondering, hey, there's 7 of us in our family. Which one of these do I need? Is the one bedroom enough? What about a 2-bedroom? So here's where knowledge comes in again. I know how the 1-bedroom is laid out. Lots of people don't. They don't have a sense of how many adults and how many children this can comfortably sleep. So what if that's something that research shows us is an interesting question that people might be confused about? Ruby is so rude says, this is absolutely true. I just booked a couple of weeks ago and had a family member not told me, I wouldn't have known about the park reservations. Yes, yes. By the way, I have 50 DVC points I don't know what to do with. If anybody wants to go to Disney World, Florida, contact me privately. I need to sell my points cheap before they run out because I am not going this year. Now, here's an interesting checkbox. Only show me accessible rooms. And I think that is great. I think that's great, and I think that's clear. Now, that's just my opinion. But, of course, if we were to do research, which we'll plan in a moment, we would want to be checking that people with accessibility needs have found the right Disney rooms for their needs. And the question is, what is an accessible room? Is it accessible for just motion disabilities? Is it accessible for someone with other disabilities, conditions, or diagnoses? So many questions. Now take a look. This is part of our, so let's say I know I want a studio. It's just me and Pier Mario. We don't need a big place. We want to go cheap because remember from our points chart, the bigger you go, let's go back to our points chart, studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Now look, here's our numbers. Sleeps up to 4, sleeps up to 5, sleeps up to 9, sleeps up to 12. But here, you know, how does it sleep those people? It's 2 double beds. That may or may not work for your family, ages, other stuff. So again, knowledge. Okay, here we are back over here. Now the question is, which resorts do you want to search? They assume this is your home resort and you want to search Old Key West. And they're saying, hey, you can book out Old Key West up to June 11, 2023. Now, my personal opinion here is that the information architecture here is really funky. It's confusing to see that I can book June 11 through June 11 here, and then all of these only up to here. I think that a different layout of these might help that be clearer. And here they're telling me that I have 50 vacation points. That's cool. But I don't even have a sense yet of how many points any of these would be. What would be interesting is, and again, I am coming up with a little bit of solution-y stuff first, or at least I'm asking some questions. Disney now knows that I'm thinking of the 9th to the 15th. They know that I'm over here in this block because I picked a studio and I picked the 9th to the 15th. Why don't these say in parentheses how many points that would take? Then I might know which ones are out of reach for me because I only have 50 points. But then even that would be confusing because there's ways to use your future points. I get 50 points a year, but there's a sneaky way to use future points. So all very confusing. These are the hotels at Walt Disney World. I'm just going to choose all of them. And I'm not going to choose the ones that are outside of Disney, like Hawaii and California. So let's see what happens if I say check availability. All right. Disney's Old Key West Resort. We have taken enhanced health and safety measures. Okay, so this is some sort of COVID statement with, again, a non-underlined link to some sort of information. I think these links should be underlined to be clearer for accessibility and things like that. So it looks like I can get this room. I can get a studio, 68 points. Your nights are available. Or use the calendar below to select nights. Now take a look at the calendar. What do you notice about it? The calendar is showing me which nights I've selected in the dark blue, which nights the hotel has availability in the lighter blue, and then kind of the gray is probably no availability because it says wait list only. And it's also showing me how many points per night this would be. So where did Disney get the number 68? 10, 10, 10, 10, 14, 14. So I could choose different times now if I wanted to now see this and say, aha, I think I want to pick a different time. But let's go down the page and let's see what else is going on here. And also here it says view room details. What does that look like? Now we get a picture of the room. Now we get information about what's in the room. So 2 queen beds, even though this picture perspective is a little weird. This one doesn't look queen, but I guess it's just the perspective of the picture. And then here's what's in that there. So I can X this out. Why didn't we see that earlier? I guess they thought because all of these rooms are going to be different, they'll show it to you later. Now check this out. This is a huge message with some sort of stuff. First of all, we have the repeated COVID message. So I think the COVID message could have gone at the beginning of the page for everything, or even the page before to warn you or notify you about their COVID measures. And it looks like they're telling you about some refurbishments. Now, here's something interesting. You know, we talk about just-in-time information. We talk about knowledge design. I'm thinking about going in January. Why are you telling me that there's going to be a refurbishment from October to December? I'm not planning to come then. Why don't you customize the information for me to simplify this so that I'm only seeing information that's relevant to me? So that way I just see this one, which is that the pool and the pool's going to be closed and the pool bar or something like that. So, so this is an example of where, you know, this is just a lazy database entry and nobody wanted to try to bother to match this up to a calendar so that it's only shown at the right times. So here would be the rooms for this particular hotel. I can expand it. I can take a look. Look at other times, excuse me. Now, the running joke in the DVC world is that Saratoga Springs is the least desirable hotel, so it almost always has availability. I've stayed there once and would prefer to not do it again. Now, I saw this over the weekend, and I thought this was confusing. Take a look at this. Here's the Boardwalk Hotel. Can I stay there or not? Now, my brain sees Deluxe Studio, 64 points. For some reason, that's what my brain saw first. Is that what your brain saw first? And then later on, my brain saw no rooms are available. Now, you might be saying, why did they show Debbie that if the rooms aren't available? Because we didn't check that box on the previous page. Remember, the previous page said, do you only want to see hotels that are available? And we said we didn't check that box. So that's why we're seeing a hotel that is not available. If we wanted to try to, get this hotel, these are our choices. So you can see this one is pretty much booked up. I pretty much have no chance of staying here, especially if I want to stay for a week. So that's going to be toast. What about a room with a different view? Okay, you can see the room with a different view is a little bit more points, but I would have some chance of going there in February. And then again, different rooms, some have different points. I could even try to see if I want to really blow up points, is a 1-bedroom available? You know, that would be an interesting piece of information here. Hey, Deb, your dates are not available, but they are if you get a 1-bedroom, but it's going to be this many points. Then I can make that decision if I want to splash out or not. Bay Lake Tower, that's the one that's right near Magic Kingdom and the castle. So again, refurbishments, message, are they relevant to me? Will this still be under construction when I'm there? Hard to know. The dates aren't stated. Knowledge design, they probably know how long these refurbishments and construction will take. They're not telling me. Hard to choose. Again, now notice this time, no rooms available for your selected dates. Now hold on. Up here, I got the COVID message and then I got no rooms available. Over here, I got no rooms available, then the refurbishment, then the COVID message. This is tough. This is an example of when we talk about inconsistency. It's really important to develop some sort of pattern and of course test that pattern to make sure it really works for your users, and then stick to that pattern. So again, you can see what's going on here. Now you have a little bit of foundational domain knowledge about the Disney timeshare system and what it's like to try to get a room there, and some of the complexity of it, and how some of that complexity is not really exposed, and you could probably make some mistakes. So let's jump over to my Axure file. And if you would like to see the public version of the Axure file, you can find it here at letter V, number 3, letter R, letter N, number 9, dot Axshare, AXSHARE.com. I'll be putting my Axure stuff there. So again, let's talk through our fake project and then spend the rest of our time today working on what research would look like. And hopefully we can finish research today. Even if we go a little late, and then next Monday, we will start hopefully doing some design. So who's the target audience? I've decided that our target audience are current members. I'm not going to worry about trying to sell this to potential customers. Let's imagine we're focused on people who've already bought into the system, even if they've never made a reservation before. And I'm looking for people who are going to plan their own vacations. Why? Because if you are using a travel agent, you're probably not looking at this system, which means you're probably not my target audience for the research. You might not be using the booking form. You might be using other areas of the website just to learn about parks and hotels and more general things. Now, as I talk through this, if you have any thoughts or questions, post them live. I'm keeping track. I've also decided that I'm going to focus my fake research on people living in the USA speaking English. Now, of course, there are many people who go to Disney who speak other languages. Walt Disney World in Florida traditionally has maps of parks available in, let's see if I can do this from memory, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Japanese. Oh, someone help me with the last one. It's not Italian. I know it's 6. Anyway, you can tell from those languages that Disney has a wide target audience of people speaking many languages, but we're going to target people speaking English so that for our fake project, we don't have to get a researcher who is a native speaker of these other languages. So we're going to pick people who are most likely to be booking their vacation in an English-speaking environment. I'm going to look for people who tend to use, did you say German? It's probably German. Thank you, Melanie. We're going to be looking for people who tend to use their DVC points at least once every other year. Yeah, is it Chinese, Arab, or Russian? Arabic or Russian? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it could be German. So we're going to pick our imaginary target audience is people using their DVC points at least once every other year, just to imagine that they are or plan to be active users of the system, and that way we have people who are more likely to use this. Yeah, Nadu says probably German. And we're going to remember that some of our target audience is going to be new to DVC and not Disney World pros. And there might be people in our target audience who are the Debbies, who are the super fans and very savvy. And it's important to research with both because they might have different habits when it comes to planning their vacations. Also, remember, we're going to be, when we get to our planning page, we'll talk more about who we want to research with and why. Now, what are some of the pain points? Now, we just saw the pain points. I'm sure you can help me sum these up. Let me know if I missed anything. Matching the time of trip to available hotels to your booking window time, 7 months in advance or 11 months in advance, to your available points, to how you get more points if you're short, plus this whole park reservations thing, if these rules are still in effect, and then all of that knowledge design. When are busier times at Disney World? When are USA school holidays? When are big Disney events or festivals? If my use year is December. When's the deadline to use my points? What parks is this resort near? And how am I going to get there? Now, again, some of this might not be completely relevant to the booking process. Maybe some of this should be in other areas of the site. Maybe where they're exploring individual hotels, that's where we surface some of this information, and maybe we assume it doesn't all go in the booking flow. These are decisions we'll have to make as we design, because we have to decide, what do we believe or know from our research, because we don't want to guess. What do we know from our research that people know by the time they're doing their booking? We might learn from our research that people didn't poke around the pages for the different resorts, and they don't know what's the difference between Saratoga Springs and Animal Kingdom Villas. So that will be interesting for us to uncover, because it will tell us if there's things we might need to surface in our design to keep people from making mistakes and feed them that knowledge. And of course, for context and evidence, hey, the website is an okay experience, but I would say it's okay for certain use cases. Like, I'm going Easter week, no matter what. If it's free, I'll take it. If it's not free, whatever, I'm going to take the first hotel I can find, because we always go Easter week. You know, it works for that use case, but it doesn't, I don't think it works for other use cases. What are we assuming or pretending? I am pretending that people are absolutely sure they're going to book a hotel in Walt Disney World in Florida, not at any other Disney park, not at any other Disney resort that might be in the timeshare system. We're just going to focus on that. LinkedIn user says accessibility and special needs. Yeah, that's going to be something. Well, let's think about that related to our audience. And I know that Disney cares about this stuff. They have I think a 26-page PDF you can download on what to do with people with autism at the Disney parks. Since, you know, there's loud noises and bright lights and things that sometimes affect some people with autism. There's secret quiet rooms at Disney. So there's lots of interesting things there. All right. And remember, beginner's mind. Now, for most of you, you have the beginner's mind. You're like, I don't know what's going on here. This system's complicated. But for me, this is, you know, back of my hand stuff. So I have to make sure that even though I am the user, that I take the perspective of not the user, that I use that beginner's mind, that I imagine and always role play the newbie and say, what does the newbie know? What does the newbie understand here? When they see that picture, do they know why that picture is there? So notice the critical thinking questions I was asking when I saw those pages. Whereas if I had just played Debbie, the subject matter expert, Debbie is the user, I would have said, yep, I know what that picture is. I know why it's there. I know what that picture is. I know why it's there. Yeah, I know what that checkbox means. I know what to do. So we have to remember that new user. Now, just for me to have some copy and paste ease for when we finally get to design, I made a list of all of the DVC resorts and their 3-letter codes, which is how some of us internally refer to them. So if you hear two DVC members talking to each other, they'll say, where did you stay? And I'll say OKW. And where did you stay? BLT. So we do say these things to each other. This is part of the lingo. You'll also see it a lot if you hang out in Disney fan forums. They will use these 3-letter codes for hotels rather than writing the names out. There's something else I want you to notice about the names of the hotels. Notice here I've made an alphabetical list of the hotels. Here's Grand Floridian, here's Animal Kingdom, etc. Let's go back to Disney's list of hotels because there's something very curious about it. See if I can find it. Oh, no, I want the page before this. Oh, no, I want this page. I hope it's going to load. Let's try doing a refresh. What I'm going to show you is that Disney has these long names for their hotels that are the way they call their hotels, but are not really the way that anybody else calls their hotels. I'm having some trouble bringing up the page. Let's see if I can find a different page. Am I having an internet blip? I'm still here, right, everybody? Anyway, what you'll see, okay, for example, Disney's Old Key West Resort. I get it. We're going to Disney. Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort, Disney's Boardwalk Villas, but take a look at this. This one isn't Disney's. This one is Bay Lake Tower at Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Animal Kingdom Villas, which means this alphabetically won't be first. Animal Kingdom won't be first because it has the word Disney in it. Disney's Riviera Resort. Yeah, we'll wait. Disney's Beach Club Villas, the villas at Disney's Grand Floridian. So I would say that one thing we could do is, as much as Disney probably wants to use their official names for things, I'm not sure that everybody understands these official names for things, and it makes the typical list of hotels look alphabetically incorrect. Grand Floridian ends up at the end because of the word the or villas. So this is another thing to consider is, would Disney drop their attachment to the hotel's full official name to use the more colloquial names that you and I would use? I would not say, I am staying at the villas at the Grand Floridian. I would not say, I'm staying at Bay Lake Tower at Disney's Contemporary Resort. So will they let us, hypothetically, this is a question we would need to ask, can we use customers' terms for hotels instead of full official hotel name? I think that would help us with the alphabetical order. It's really all it would help us with. Otherwise, sometimes you look at the list and you go, where's Grand Floridian? It's like, oh, it's last on the list? That's weird. I expected it to be by the letter G. And I also split up resorts by their area. Again, subject matter expert. What you don't know is that Disney hotels are split into 4 areas at in Florida based on what they're close to. So we have Epcot area resorts, which are closest to Epcot, and I've written down how you can get there. What's the fastest way to get there? Beach Club and Boardwalk, you can walk or use a wheelchair. Riviera Resort now has a Skyliner, which is kind of like a ski lift tram thingy, which I will never take. Thank you very much. Animal Kingdom has everything has buses. So Animal Kingdom has nothing special. Everything has buses. Animal Kingdom, you'll have to use the bus. Old Key West and Saratoga Springs, if you want to get to Disney Springs, use the boats. So this is how do you get to the closest thing, not how do you get to everything. And Magic Kingdom, if you stay in a Magic Kingdom area resort, how do you get to the Magic Kingdom? Boats, monorail, super long walk, short walk, etc. Again, knowledge I have that the system did not make clear. What if you have little kids and you plan to spend most of the week at the Magic Kingdom? You might want to stay at a Magic Kingdom area resort so that going to and from the Magic Kingdom is shorter. So knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. All right. So let's spend, I know we're going to run late today. Let's spend some time working on a research plan. Now, I think that we could imagine a 60-minute contextual inquiry session. Now, the contextual inquiry is a fancy word for observation with interviews. So I would be interviewing people. I would have them share their screen and show me how they tend to search for DVC resorts and how they book the properties. And so that way we give them a task and they share their screen and we watch them do it. This is always better than asking people, what do you do? And then what do you do next? Sometimes we're stuck doing that, but where we can watch a thing, always better. This would be remote. I don't need to sit with people. We can have them share their screen. I'm pretending that we might have a team on this, one lead researcher and maybe some assistants. I didn't pick a number yet. I also don't know the time and budget. And artifacts, very often for our research projects at Delta CX, we have recordings because we record all the sessions. We might come up with typologies or personas, but that's optional. Sometimes people don't fall into them. Maybe they do. Very often I find people fall into typologies by effort. the low effort planner, the high effort planner, someone in between. But we'll have to see once we meet them what our typologies, our personas are. We can't decide ahead of time. How about an overarching strategy for the booking tool? What's our strategy here? How are we going to approach this? Not necessarily the solution. How do we approach this project? And what are our UX strategic goals? And of course, a nice presentation. Now let's take a look at who we want to meet for this fake research. And we talked about how we want to, on our previous page, we talked about how we want to meet English speakers in the USA. So I'll repeat some of that stuff here. So this would be English speaking current DVC members who have used or plan to use their points at least once every other year. What else did we want to? We want a mix of people who are new and who are savvy. So let's make a note of that. Mix of people who are new to DVC and who are savvy. Melanie says, do we want non-native English speakers? I think that's an interesting question. I'm not against it. Certainly if Spanish is someone's first language, but they tend to book the website in English, we can interview them in English, and Spanish might be their first language. The question is, would I specifically recruit people for whom English is not their native language? Maybe. Let's put it down here. Some non-native English speakers. Maybe there's something about the way the site is or works that non-native English speakers find more difficult or confusing than native English speakers. Good to figure that out. We would like to meet people we'd like to meet some people with accessibility needs. Both from the perspective of the digital experience and because this is ultimately a physical experience. You're going to a hotel. Do you understand how to book the right room for whatever your accessibility need may or may not be? So kind of important there. Now, how many segments do we think we have? We've got a few buckets here. We need new and savvy. We need native English speaker and not native English speaker. We need accessibility needs and not accessibility needs. Someone says one person to observe and take notes and another to ask questions and focus on that. Yep, we could do that. We could say one lead researcher and one assistant. I'm going to pretend I've got a nice budget for this one, and I'm going to put 2 assistants on it so that I have more people to help, not only taking notes, but also in what will definitely be a grueling analysis. And it's fake anyway. Jennifer says, is there a reason why they use their points every other year rather than every year? Is that a different type of guest? Super question. That is me being the user a little bit. When I bought my contract for 50 points, I thought maybe I'll just go every other year. Oh, the page died. Let's look back at our points chart. If I only have 50 points, when can I go? How long can I stay? And so hypothetically, if I go, let's see, if I like to go the first week of January, a week costs me 78. Well, if I only have 50, I don't have enough. But if I have 50 and I want to go every other year, that pretty much works. That should work. I'll have to buy a couple of points somewhere, which you can do. But basically, that should work. That was my original plan. Hey, I want to have enough points to spend a nice week there every other year. I think many people who buy go once a year, and I think many people go multiple times a year. I think my friend has 300 points. So people get all kinds of points. 50 is the minimum you could buy, so that's what I bought. So is that a different type of guest? I don't know. It could be people who are traveling less often because of the expense. Remember that the DVC points only cover your hotel stay. They don't cover how you get to Florida, which could be flying, driving, whatever. They don't cover your food. They don't cover your park tickets. They don't cover your souvenirs. You know, you're still going to spend thousands of dollars at this place. So this is an expensive vacation, absolutely expensive. So some families might say, hey, this is really expensive. We have to save up for this. We're just going to go every other year. Melanie says, so your points accrue if you don't use them. Only for 1 year, Melanie. So I can take this year's points and I can move them to next year, or I can borrow from next year's, but I can only use points from 1 year on either side. So it's limited. So for example, that's why I want somebody to go to Disney World and take my 50 points, because they expire at the end of November, because they're last year's points that I moved to this year because I'm not going to Florida. I live in Europe. I'm not flying yet. Too afraid. That's why next year I have 95, because I moved some of this year's points to next year. Megan says, isn't knowing you can buy points also expert knowledge? You got it. And that's why I put that over here in the project details. What if I don't have enough points? How do I get more points? So I have bought points before. There's a one-time fee to buy if you're a few points short, like you're 3 points short, you can buy a few points. I think at the time they were like $24 a point. But you don't get those points forever. They're not added to your contract. They're just one-time use points. Bram says, so rather than buying your stay with real money, you buy points to book your holiday. Yes, because I get points every year for like 25 years. And then I can use the points at any of Disney's hotels. So typically I'm staying at Old Key West because, as you saw, it's usually open when other hotels are booked solid. It's not one of the more desirable ones right now, even though I kind of like it. But hey, if I had enough points or I booked early enough, I could stay somewhere else. If our booking page hadn't died, we could take a look at what some of my other options would have been. But yikes, this page died. So that would be some other options. That's a nice thing about this timeshare system, is that I have options for time of year, how big the room should be, and what hotel I want to be at. It's got a nice flexibility that some other timeshare systems don't have. All right, so we've got new and savvy, English speaking, not English speaking, accessibility needs, not accessibility needs. I think these are some of our key buckets. Now, that I also like to make sure that we get a good mix of genders, that we get a good mix of ethnicities, that we get a good mix of ages. The way somebody who is 30 books it might be different from the way I book it, or someone who's older than I am. So, but I'm not going to call that a segment. I'm just going to make sure that when I do my recruiting and I check my screener survey responses, that I try to get a good mix of ages, genders, and different types of things, so that I'm not just talking to 27 white guys. Pass. Okay, so given these buckets, that was 2, 4, 6. That's probably, if you mix and match these, is that 9, or is that 2 to the third power, which would be 8? I always forget. Let's imagine we have 8 segments all in all when we can mix and match some of these. So let's imagine we've got a big budget. We've got time and budget from Disney to do this right. So I would say we would like to meet 8 segments. That would be 64 to 96 people. And you might say, Deb, that's what? That's so many people to talk to. What? That's too many. Talk to 3 people. If you want to do research really well, you are talking to the statistically significant number of people. Now, will you find that after your 5th or 6th person, it all tends to sound the same? You might. But I try to book 8, 9, 10 of each segment just in case I learned something new. Make no assumptions, y'all. So That's going to take a long time. This is definitely a many months project. When we did a project 2 years ago for Etsy, we met 71 people. So I want you to know these projects exist. Now, they don't always exist in the corporate world. A lot of companies don't make time for research projects that are this thorough. But sometimes as an agency, I am brought in because I'm not taking resources away from the company. They say, yeah, you do the really in-depth thing that we don't have time to do. We're so busy running with this other stuff. So I would imagine maybe for a project this big, maybe there's 2 lead researchers so that I'm not doing 96 interviews myself, and 2 assistants. Table for 4, please. I think this is going to take us a really long time, especially in recruiting and all of this mixing and matching. So I'm going to call this a 4-month project. But again, normally if you see my, if you go to YouTube, you can look at the video where I talk about how I plan projects, and you will see how I would come up with the exact amount of time that I would estimate for this. How much money do I think this is? For a 4-month research project, I'm just going to guess. I'm going to say this is 130,000 American dollars. And if we're going to need incentives for 96 people, and this is a smaller target audience because they have to be DVC members, so it might not be something we easily find. Though we could post to, we could see if we could post to some forums where people are members. So maybe this is medium to find these. But I think these people are going to expect some money for their time. So let's imagine we put aside $9,600 for incentives to give each person $100 for an hour of their time. Now we need to talk about what are some good questions to ask them. And with that, I think we'll pick it up next week. So we'll continue next, because these shows are normally an hour, so I'd like to try to stay on time. Next week, we'll take a look at what are some good research questions that we would like to ask these people. What task will we have them do? And then we'll pretend that we've run the research and that we've learned some things. So we're going to have to fake some stuff out and make some assumptions or pretend, and we'll start doing some redesign of this booking experience. So Jamila says, is this a timeshare program only for Disney World Florida? Do they have this for the other parks in the world? This is only for currently Disney World Florida, 1 hotel at Disney California, and then a bunch of other hotels that Disney owns that aren't at parks, like their hotel in Hawaii. Fabiola says, thank you. Loved it. Melanie says, this has been fun. Yeah, thanks to all of you for joining in. This is just the starter. You know, if you've been watching the Think Out Loud series, and this is episode 20, so we've done this before with other fake projects. Our previous one was for law school graduates who are trying to apply to take the Florida bar exam and get their lawyer license. Whoa, that one was dizzying. So we take on these fake projects and we usually work on them for 2, 3, 4 episodes. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one stretches out for at least 2 more episodes. So check us out next week for episode 21. If you miss it, you'll find it on YouTube in the Think Out Loud playlist. You can easily find that. And someone says, can you tell us what software you're using for planning research? Right now, I'm doing everything in Axure. There is no good reason to use Axure for the research planning. Typically, I am actually doing research planning in a Google document. We actually did a show on that. We did a show on observational research planning, which you can find in the Micro Lessons playlist on, it's called Micro Lessons, over on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe over there. We really want to beat 5,000 subscribers this week, and hopefully you can help us do it by letting some friends know about this channel. If you enjoyed today and you have a good feeling about what's coming in the next episode, I hope you'll tell at least 3 friends, coworkers, managers about the Delta CX YouTube channel. Last questions. Any questions about what we've done so far? Sorry that we're leaving it hanging a little bit, but you know, episodes are episodes, and we'll continue with this next, and then we'll get in, do some wireframing and prototyping, and I would love for all of you to join me again so that you can throw out some of your ideas for how you would consider solving some of the pain points and opportunities that we imagine our research will uncover for all different types of users. So any last questions, let me know. Other than that, we'll wind down. Please remember that Tuesday is office hours, Ask Me Anything. Every Tuesday, I am here for an hour, 6:30 p.m. Italy time, and I will be taking your questions. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by Dr. Nick Fine as our special guest. He'll be taking your questions as well. Kinga says, or Dr. Kinga says, thank you for such a valuable session. My first one, can't wait until next week. Yeah, me either. I love these, but I decided I would just do them every Monday. Megan says, thank you for great content. It's been a great insight into Disney parks and other things. Yeah, isn't it amazing how complex and complicated that can be? A Disney Florida vacation is quite complex because what a lot of people think, oh, Disneyland, a park with a castle. I just need a hotel nearby. I'll go to the castle. I'll eat some food. But what they don't know about the Florida park, which is extremely unique compared to all of Disney's other parks, is that Disney's land in Florida is the size of San Francisco, California. They bought 42 square miles of land in Florida. That's why there's over 30 hotels. Only some of them are in the DVC system. 4 parks, 2 water parks, 2 mini golf courses, a sports and entertainment complex, a shopping, dining, and entertainment district known as Disney Springs, and multiple golf courses, right? Magnolia, and what's the other one? Oh, and don't forget a secret sneaky hotel that has a very interesting history called Shades of Green. It's now owned by the Department of Defense, and they use it to give current service members discounted Disney vacations. Jala says, thank you, enjoyed it. Pier Mario says, mini golf. I know, there's something funny about, you go to Disney World, California, Florida, the vacations cost you thousands of dollars. Why go play mini golf? Really? Bram says, looking forward to next week. And Dinesh says, thank you, Debbie. It's good learning for UX. I hope so. I hope this is giving people some ideas of how I think about things, how I break things down. And even when I'm looking at an existing website, some of the things going through my head, all of the why questions I'm asking, and what does this mean? And what does this mean to the non-savvy user? And Elena made a great point, like, what does this say to the screen reader? Will the screen reader know what this is? How come the screen reader knew what it was, but we didn't? So many fabulous questions, and that's what critical thinking is all about. Critical thinking is about stepping away from your own assumptions or beliefs and asking tough questions to break stuff down and consider, what if? What if somebody looks at that picture and doesn't know what it is? What if somebody sees a choice and doesn't understand what it is? What if somebody sees deluxe studio in 1 bedroom and says, okay, but how many people can sleep there? Jennifer says the DVC needs your services. Yeah, I don't want to insult anybody at Disney or the DVC. I'm sure they worked hard on this site. There's it's obviously got a nice design system and consistent visuals. I think it works for a couple of use cases. I think it works for the extremely savvy person who tends to go on a certain week and it's that week or die. But as for me, I'm flexible. I just want to go when it's cheap. That could be September. That could be January. That could be, I know when the times are. I know when the times are to go. When it's cheaper and when there's fewer people because all the kids are in school, except for the Brazilians. So, great. Thanks to everybody also for staying late. And I will see everybody hopefully tomorrow, 6:30 Italy time, for Office Hours Ask Me Anything, special guest Dr. Nick Fine. And if you'd like to send in your questions ahead of time, just go to deltacx.com/links and you'll find a way to send in your questions. Absolutely every question is welcome. Absolutely every. People send in their stories about their bad jobs, about their job seeking, about techniques, about terms. So almost no questions are stupid. We have gotten a couple of weird ones like, why didn't you Google that? But almost no questions are stupid, and we're happy to answer your questions. So I hope you'll join tomorrow and keep learning, because that's what this channel's all about. So thanks to everybody, and see you soon. See you tomorrow. Thanks. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are